Hey, what is up ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sylvester the Cat here, and I'm back for some more of the Maxi Toys videos of course, and ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy fans. So last time we actually did tackle through both World 5 and 6, which are both Rocket Yard and Orange Ocean. And today for this episode folks, is the fact that we're going to be finished up at this particular point with the forms of Nightmare in Dreamland and the forms of the actual game itself. We're actually going to be tackling through World 7 by the forms of Rainbow Resort. So, as far as this particular color we're going to be getting by the forms of the, the Star Wars item consists of, is the form of how the fact that we need to get ourselves the red Star Art until we're able to actually restore in peace of the forms of the Fountain of Dreams, obvious for this factor. See, Fernando, yeah. You know that this world only holds up to 2 secret switches for this point. See, Fernando, we can hopefully guarantee we can able to actually 100% everything. So, anyways though, so the first secret switch in this world is not that far from here. It's just basically we need to able to get to this part here until we're able to actually realize how the fact that we need to break up these little particular ice blocks before we're able to actually do it for the sake of being for those kinds of stuff. So, actually, let's go ahead and grab ourselves, yeah, let's go ahead and just, try to able to actually just, explore for quite a few bits and bobs here. So, yeah, we do need to... How the hell did that enemy just hit me right there? No, that's just plain rude. Anyways, let's go ahead and, grab ourselves the beam ability. And before we do that, I just need to get some more health right there, in case if I don't die again. And, well, to make matters even much more stingy than that is how the fact that we actually come across into those blue variations of the forms of this little particular fireball-looking enemy, and as a result of this matter, just like the ones in both Dark Nuts, and especially noticeable in the blue Dark Nuts in the forms of, the original Legend of Zelda game, is the fact that they can actually go way too fast compared to how it does in the forms of the regular fireball enemy right there. Freaking bullcrap! You mean to tell me he would have to avoid everything and try to freaking kill you with my beam again? Oh my god! What the hell? What the hell, man? I mean, jeez, that was the most bull thing ever. Well, it's nothing bull or anything, it's just how the fact that it gets pretty stingy when it comes to enemy behavior sometimes. Well, similar issues I have with the forms of, well, Kirby's Dreamland 3, which even then though, that might be, well, I won't say it's that compromised, but even then though, it's not much anything else to be said and done, so... Oh, I'm getting sick of that enemy right there. In fact, let's go ahead and just get this thing over with, so just in case of how the fact that I just need to get that damn switch to be activated through. So, but as long as we can able to actually beat this world quite ridiculously fast now, because of how the fact that, well, Game Boy Advance's speeding processing with this part. Oh god, I almost got hit by those Waddle Dees right there. The amount of sets with Waddle Dees, as far as I'm aware for that. So, as far as I'm majorly concerned with this, is the fact that we do need to able to actually get ourselves the fireball ability on this, because obviously, since we're still in the actual, ice environment, so that way we can able to actually melt out these little ice blocks, and even especially noticeable with these particular grey solid blocks, as far as you might see this wall coming. So even then, we might as well able to do this particular trick, mainly for this part, which I don't know how this can be worked out, but even then, I know it's been a long time coming, and you gotta be kidding me, I'm almost gonna be dying yet again. Well, hope I can, there we go, now that everything else is working, so, there we go, now we've actually, actually activated the secret switch, but also I've managed to restore my health completely, so... Thank goodness for that though. But aside from that though, we can just simply finish the level as normal, so... Again, there's not much else I can really talk for this point, because today was actually forms of the 27th of May, 2018, so that means we've only got ourselves like, I would say about 16 days left until like, Nintendo E3 2018. Well, in addition to, well, basically 15 days or something like that. But it forms of the fact that, just for the sake of, like, Square Enix, E3 2018. I almost said 2016 for some reason, because I keep on thinking back in the day, in the forms of the fact that, in the forms of during in E3 2016, when it comes to Square Enix, they recently announced you know, Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue compilation game on the PlayStation 4 specifically, exclusively. But even though that maybe seems the case, mind you, so... Anyways though, in level 2 right there, in the forms of Rainbow Resources that we have to, once again have to face off against with these mini-bosses yet again, but this time around though, they are recolored. Even then though, as you can see in Misty Frosty for example, that normally he was becoming blue, but now he's more accurately green, which even then you can definitely tell for this little, visual changes and stuff like that, so... Anyways, we got Bonkers yet again, but in the red color formation, so... Still, I found it to be incredibly difficult in this game sometimes because, no matter what though, that his movements is incredibly fast and just really hard to predict sometimes in the forms of this version of the game. Unlike the ones in the original Kirby's Adventure, that's from my circumstances though anyway, so... it goes to the point that, you know, face off against with these mini-bosses like, you know, the Poopy Brother Juniors, all the way up to the very end until when it gets to the Flaming Lion. So, as you can see, this little elephant-looking, you know, mini-boss is actually becoming light blue this time around, though, instead of, like, well, normally purple, as far as I'm aware for this little kinds of traditions like that. So... But as long as you're able to actually know his attacks very well, especially notable, he's way more better than the likes of the turtle-based enemy, because I just can't stand that turtle-based enemy, because they can really catch to me so easily like that. But not digress though, so let's finish him off, and hopefully we can move on to, I'm presuming Bugsy's up next. But in forms of, yeah, and he's actually now becoming green, which is kind of odd, but at least we can able to actually cope with this kind of stuff like that. So let's go ahead and toss the enemy projectile, specifically if you're able to actually achieve, you know, or obtain rather, the throw ability. That way we can able to actually toss the projectile right at these bosses effortlessly. So, in fact, one thing about this, the throw ability, is that it makes it incredibly overpowered in this version of the game, because no matter what though, if you manage to grab the projectile like I do here, sometimes it actually deals a good ton of damage when it comes to not only enemies themselves, but also bosses as well, even for mid-bosses, for example, like Bugsy for instance. So, there he goes, and now we're going to be faced off against with the final foe in this particular level, and that is definitely the forms of, well, Flaming Lion. So, strangely enough though, his particular skin is actually purple instead of like the normal red color, which is kind of odd choice there, but at least I can able to actually get used to this for this point. So, in fact, let's go ahead and survive for this particular level with just about a little bit of health left. If I manage to accomplish that, then that will be a welcoming achievement for my knowledge. But even then, unlike the ones in new forms of, you know, in Mickey Mouse that already done with Kirby's Adventure, that he did accidentally die on this part because of how the fact that with the enemy patterns and all that stuff, or even mini-bosses patterns, can get pretty darn treacherous if you say so for this much. So anyways, after we need to defeat that little flaming fire line, that way you can able to actually finish the main level as normal. So that's how it goes, obviously, with this particular level itself. And just so you notice that the level itself is going to be ending with, well, turns out we've got ourselves a maximum tomato, which we can actually restore our health in during time. But be very careful with this particular blade soldier right there, because that just really throws you off for a second there, because even then, if you think about how the fact that this ending portion of this level is going to be very, very clear, but it turns out it actually wasn't. So even then, yeah. Level 3, that, well, there's not much else we can actually say about level 3, until when we get to the 6th and the final main platforming level in this particular game itself. So, and until then, we can actually come across into the final secret switch in the entirety of the game, well, again, until we actually get into, like, level 6 and stuff like that. So, wow, these enemies can really home into me directly. Oh, jeez, I'm actually gonna get hit a lot, even for the actual, Elton Bird enemies right there. So even though I need to get another maximum tomato. Well, good thing, about this is the fact that you can able to actually grab it from the left side. So, there you go then. So, I don't think there's any copy abilities we can able to get at the moment. Well, again, it wasn't until when we actually get into the later portions of the levels themselves, so... yeah, that's all I can really say about this at this point, because if you even know that there's not much else news-relatable stuff, unfortunately, besides the fact that we've only got a couple of days left until, you know, the E3 is about to be starting with, which even then, I'm really excited about that. So, anyway, let's go ahead and bust up this little bomb block until we're able to get ourselves not only some plenty of health goodies, like the forms of maximum tomato, but also the 1-up. So, speaking of 1-ups, I've actually got myself, well, 48/47 as far as the actual life count usually says on the screen. But because again, if you get 0 lives counts, then you still got 1 chance left. So unless if you die with 0 lives, so until you get a game over. So far we haven't got a game over in the Kirby series as far as this point. Well, there's only one exception, but in forms of I would classify for saying Kirby Superstar when it comes to the Great Cave Offensive, because even then, that particular mode in Kirby Superstar, in the forms of the Great Cave Offensive, can get pretty stingy with extra lives, though I have to admit though. But nonetheless though, that is a pretty giant open world type of game like that. But apart from that though, I pretty much be fully comfortable with that. So anyways, so let's go ahead and just you know, just traversing through level 4 here. So far, we've already got into the halfway point in the forms of Rainbow Resort, especially nearly towards the end of the game, obviously for this factor. But of course, I'm probably not going to tackle through the second playthrough, including the third playthrough of this game, because, well, I'll explain more on that as soon as we actually get into the extra stuff of how this game offers. But in forms of, you know, tons of modes you can go through, even especially noticeable these new improvement stuff is used to be mentioning. Well, I've already mentioned about certain improvements of the likes of the original Kirby's Adventure, that's for sure. And especially noticeable by the forms of the extra content that you can get. Like, there's some tons of stuff you can get in the forms of this game in particular, compared to the ones in the original Kirby's Adventure. That's for my, you know, recommendation as far as I'm aware for this little extra content goes. So anyways, let's go ahead and deal with this particular part again. Still haven't got a 1-up though, but that's okay because I still managed to get plenty of those 1-ups. Alright, so level 5 right there. For level 5, I'm assuming we have to dodge as many of those crushed-looking, bomb-looking enemies. I still get hit whenever I was in mid-air. Jeez. No wonder why these guys are pain in the bum though in this game sometimes. But anyways though, and now this particular Grand Wheelie mini boss fight right there is actually moving way too fast right now. And it's especially noticeable how the fact that, well, the only thing great about it is the fact that he can't jump all over the place this time around though, which makes it, excuse me, how the fact that he doesn't jump all over the place this time around though, which is a huge plus, because even then though, oh god, I'm gonna die again, aren't I? Well, I'm really hoping I can get myself some more health ammo, or even especially noticeable for my health is going to be restored as far as this point in time, which even I know that might be seems the case until we actually get into this next room there, which speaking of such, we're actually going to right about now. And speaking of such, we have a fireball looking enemy right there, and let's go grab ourselves the you know, the bottle of any kind, and we can able to actually go ahead and finish the main level as normal. Of course, there's a cannon right there, but in order to actually activate that though, is the fact that I suggest you use the Crush ability, because in the Crash ability, you can simply just able to use the explosive effect onto the forms of the actual rope to lit in, and as a result, you can able to actually get to the cannon so easily like that, which even then, I've already shown you that from before. So here we go, folks, on to the final main platforming level in the forms of, well, let's just say, both Kirby's Adventure / Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, and that's the forms of level 6 in Rainbow Resort. And this level is very familiar, because if you remember playing Kirby's Dreamland before, in the forms of the original Game Boy, this feels exactly a replica in the forms of, you know, Kirby's Dreamland 1, where we're actually going to be traversing through Green Greens, and Castle of Low, and Floating Islands, and finally all the way up to the very end until Bubbly Clouds. So that's pretty cool, especially noticeable by the forms of nostalgicness is all over the place. Even especially noticeable when we get to the future Kirby games that, like for instance, for example, by the forms of, let's just say Kirby's Adventure Wii and Kirby Triple Deluxe, and even especially noticeable in Kirby Planet Robobot, and even especially noticeable with the forms of Kirby Star Allies. The actual nostalgicness is all over the place when it comes to able to actually bring those fan service alike, which even then, I really do appreciate it with this kinds of stuff like this, so... And once again, I keep on getting owned by certain enemy types as far as I'm aware for this little suggestions like that. But anyways though, but enough about that. This level actually contains the final ever secret switch we can hopefully try to get to until we actually get ourselves 100% completion in the forms of the actual main game itself. Well, of course, there will be a time that we can able to actually get ourselves 100% for the majority of the entire accomplishments or something like that. I'm just a little confused right there. So anyways though, let's go ahead and go all the way up there. And yes, just like the ones in, in any other Kirby games, you can simply enter in the mode to actually access to these new areas and all that stuff, or these secret areas I should say. Well, there's a good opportunity that we could potentially go ahead and Stupid Waddle Dees with the forms of paracells. Why they're there though? Anyways, enter this moon right there until you get yourselves the final secret switch. In addition to that, we also get ourselves not only the maximum tomato we can restore our health, and also the extra 1-up. So now my life's count is now up to 52/51, as you can see on screen right there. Oh, I didn't get a perfect ending though, whatever when we get to the next boss in this game. But anyway though. Before we get to this boss though, on the other hand though, let's go ahead and double check on the forms of the Warp Star Station. As you can see, everything else has been completely done, and yeah, the actual aesthetics about the Warp Star Station is a lot more detailed than the likes of the NES version counterparts though, so... Here we go folks, on to this boss fight in the forms of Rainbow Resorts. We're gonna be fighting against with the one and only King DDD. He's actually way more easier than the likes of the original Kirby's Adventure this time around though, because first off, he's way too big, and plus not to mention though, his attacks is incredibly slow this time around though, which makes it incredibly easy to dodge though this time around though. Well, there are a few times though I keep on getting hit by his super spring jump and all that stuff. And this particular battle theme, as you can clearly hear right there, this actually heavily borrows that before, or after rather, Super Smash Bros. Melee exists. The stage called the Thousand of Dreams, and speaking of the Thousand of Dreams, here we on to the Thousand of Dreams, and just like before, King DDD was trying to tell me the fact that they're trying to warn me to not to place the Star Rods, which, screw you King DDD, because you're not worth it, and I'm gonna be placing that no matter what. What the hell? Oh, that does not look good at all. I mean, jeez. And just what you think about that, then King DDD decides to help us out. So yeah, here we go folks, here's the forms of the first phase of the forms of the true final boss in the game, but in forms of just like the ones in the original Kirby's Adventure, welcome to Nightmare. See, Fernando, that the first phase all it does is basically we need to use the Star Rods, because that way it'll deal us the damage on the forms of the Nightmare. And the first phase all it does is keep on attacking this orb until you're able to actually deal with the quite enough damage of the orb, until you're able to actually finish him, until you're able to actually fight against with the Nightmare in the actual moon itself. So, yeah, there's not much anything else to be said and done here, but of course you can't spend on this battle for too long, because if you manage to get touched to the ground, you'll instantly get killed by it. So even then, there we go then. I actually can't believe I actually did manage to beat this section quite really fast though this time around though, unlike the ones in the original Kirby's Adventure, that's for sure. Alright, so here we go with the second and the final phase of the forms of the final boss in the forms of Kirby, Nightmare, and Dreamland, and just as like before, the Warp Star has been completely, well, dishonest here. And also, look at his design of the actual Nightmare. Well, does that model look familiar to you? Well, it's pretty much exactly like, almost identical to the ones in the forms of the anime, of the forms of Kirby Right Back at Ya, in the forms of, episode 100, or in this case for this matter, you can practically call it Kirby Fight to the Finish, which is the forms of the 100th episode special slash a full movie, if you will, for the actual anime, that one of the villains is actually known as Nightmare. So this is technically where before this particular design exists in the forms of the actual, Kirby anime design of the actual Nightmare. So that's pretty cool, especially noticeable how the fact that it makes perfect sense how the fact that the Star Rod deals the damage by the forms of Nightmare himself. So even though everything else will be checked out there for the most part though, so yeah, that's all I can say about it. Plus the music is still pretty awesome even to this day though. I kinda wish this music will make a return though, especially in the orchestra version of that specific stuff though, but unfortunately that's not the case though, so... Okay, so... Let's go ahead and just almost finish him off though. Which, again, his defense wasn't exactly got as high compared to how it does in the original Kirby's Adventure, but hey, at least as far as I can usually just say about this here though, so... Let's see if we can just try and go ahead. You gotta be kidding me. Are you for real? Are you for real, man? This free. To able to actually get, I managed to die right there and, oh, jeez. Please don't tell me, like, oh, that reminds me. I've died on the exact same final boss as the original version of Kirby's Adventure. That's for my circular reclamation. And even especially noticeable how the fact that I was almost gonna blow him off. Well, in this case, deliberately trying to deal with the final blow with the forms of Nightmare, but I was really damn so close. That how the fact that his boss gauge was almost depleted, and then I've got myself one segment of my health left, and then guess what happens? I've died on the exact same point as to how it does in the forms of back in during the likes of Kirby's Adventure Let's Play, so that's a bit of embarrassment if you ask me. But I'm hoping this won't happen again until we get to Kirby and the Amazing Mirror until any time soon, so even then I'll let Joel the Bird be able to deal with that game for the time being, so... That's all I can really say about this here though, so... Well, at least thankfully though, I don't have to do a jump cut this time around though, because, you know, his defense wasn't nearly as high as how it does in the forms of the original version of this boss fight. And plus, especially noticeable how the fact that this boss can go really fast and quickly this time around though, so... Thankfully though, we don't have to worry about these little dragged on moments notice, even then though... BAM! There we go! So there goes Nightmare, so he's gonna be completely vanquished for himself. And let's enjoy the ending to Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland, although the ending itself is pretty much exactly the same as how it does it from the original counterparts though. 100% complete! Now you can choose the extra game. I've already mentioned about this before. The extra game plays exactly like how it does in a normal game, except you do have 3 units of health instead of the usual 6. And this time around though, you can now actually save your progression of your game on the extra mode. Our hero Kirby was fought bravely to recover the Star Rod, but King Dedede didn't mean any harm, which I understand about that. He certainly wasn't trying to harm the Fountain of Dreams. It all began when the Nightmares appeared in the fountain. The Nightmares rode the currents of the Fountain of Dreams, wreaking havoc and torturing the residents of Dreamland. When King Dedede hid the Star Rod, the power source of the Fountain of Dreams, he was exactly hiding it safely away from the Nightmares. Borrowing King Dedede's power, Kirby managed to defeat the Nightmares. Now that the Star Rod is returned to Fountain, everyone's dreams will return. So, fluff up your pillow and get ready for a good night's sleep. So let's toss the Star Rod all the way onto this little good distance throw onto the forms of the Fountain of Dreams itself. So, there you go then. Everything else is fully restored now, and all the rest of the Nightmares, rather, is now fully, well, demised. So, there we go then. And Kirby was saying, bye! See you in the next game. Well, until, you know, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror for the forms of the next Game Boy Advance Kirby game, but it's gonna be the original Kirby game on that system, so... Yeah, that's all I can say about this here, but I'm also able to actually talk for the actual, main, overall of the, this particular, version of the, or in this case, this particular remake of this particular game itself. I'm also save that in the extra video though, because first of all, I just want to point things out though right away though, is that much like in any other Kirby Let's Plays, I'm actually going to be showing case off these extra stuff how this game offers to be. Like, there's going to be lots to show off this time around though, because unlike the ones in new forms of, well, you know, Kirby's Adventure, there's not much else to talk through, but it comes to extra stuff in mind. But in this game, we can now actually talk about these more tons of stuff you can able to get for this game, but in forms of, like, let's just say, 3 sub-games you can able to get, and even especially noticeable, but in forms of, yeah, you're still able to actually play through the boss endurance run, just like how it does it from the forms of the original version of that game. And especially noticeable how the fact that you can able to actually, well, you can able to actually still play the extra game, which just like in the ones in, you know, the original Kirby's Adventure, you still got, like, 3 units of health before you're able to actually do this entire journey. And to make things a little bit more improvement over the likes of the NES version counterparts, is the fact that you can now actually save your progression. So even then though, you can definitely tell why when I'll show you the brief moments in the forms of the extra mode itself. So, however though, after beating the extra mode of the game, well, I'll explain more details onto the actual extra video itself. But even then, at the moment, in this credit sequence, sorry for a little bit of a tangent right there, it shows you how the fact that what's the best strategies of the forms of certain boss fights itself, but in forms of, well, I couldn't normally try to do this normally though, but because of how the fact that I wasn't really, purely able to actually just go ahead and block his projectiles, or just trying to block his sword attacks, which even though it doesn't seem to work for me. So, anyways though, so I'm gonna have to end things off at this point right there, and I do have to say this much though, this game definitely deserves a remake of the forms of Kirby's Adventure. I'm gonna tell you that right about now. Well, after we're able to actually discuss on that in the forms of the extra video. So join me next time. Let's play Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. It's the fact that we're gonna be showcase off the extra stuff of how this game offers, like, you know, some sub-games, including the boss endurance. I'm going to be showing you guys that, and the extra mode briefly, and this special unlockable mode. So see you guys next time. Later, fellas.